Are we on now? Oh, okay. Hi, guys. My name is Joyce Carambot, and I'm sharing my aortic dissection story today. I want to start out by saying thank you for being here, logging in with me, and going live. I want to talk a little bit about my life before and the day of the event, and in the hospital, and after surgery when I got home, and a couple of things after that. But my life before was, I thought it was pretty regular. Married woman. We've been married for 21 years this year. I'm a mother of five. When my dissection happened, all of my kids were pretty much teenagers. They were in middle school and high school. Um, let's see. I wasn't a fitness mom, but I was really active. I went to the gym. I was running a 12-minute mile, which isn't fantastic, but I was out there and I was running. I love to hike, love to walk. I had five kids, like I said, so I was always trying to find something free to do with my kids, and that was finding new trails, new waterfalls, swimming holes, anything free. We were out there and we were doing it. My kids hated going hiking with me because I would always find these off the wall hikes, and they always ended up being longer than they were supposed to be. But new parks, new trails, swimming holes. I was substitute teaching while I was taking courses at the local community college. I was trying to earn my degree. That everything kind of took a halt because of COVID in 2020. We don't need to rehash that. Everybody knows about 2020 COVID, but I couldn't take my courses anymore because my focus turned to the kids. They went to school virtually, so I had to be here. I had to be with them. And then when they went back to school, I had to be here because they would be quarantined for 10 days. And if the school called, I had to rush over there and pick them up. I am married, but my husband travels for his job, so it was, you know, that responsibility fell on me. So I wasn't substitute teaching, and I wasn't taking my courses when this happened. So the day of the event, I kind of got a timeline and notes because I don't really remember too much. Now at 9:51 a.m., so let me back up because this was like, you probably hear this on every story, but it was like a normal day. I woke up, I got the kids off to school, it was hustle bustle, getting everybody out. And then I even said to myself, well, I'm not going to clean the house because I'll be back and I'll get that done. It was Friday. Me and my husband were going to do date night. Um, my kids had an AMI. It was an ROTC AMI. It's a big event for ROTC cadets in the program. I was supposed to meet a friend at Publix, pick up subs, bring the subs to the school, set them up in the cafeteria, and then we can go to the gym where they're having the AMI and finish watching the event. So at 9:51 a.m., I met my friend Elizabeth at the Publix. We picked up all the platters. We made it to the school. We set up everything at the cafeteria. We rushed over to the gym. We sat down, and um, it happened really fast. I was able to take pictures.
Oh, I'm not sure if we lost Joyce. If you guys will just bear with me for a second, we'll see if she connects back in. In the meantime, hi Tom. Hi Ken, thanks for joining us. Her signal looks like
Am I
it's
still here?
restored. Yeah, you're still here. Just give it 1 second
I'm
while it
sorry. Okay.
normalizes again. Okay. All right, and I'm gonna bring you right back in.
Okay. I don't know what happened, but Jesus knew that I needed a second to gather myself. So again, I don't know where I left off, but 9:51, I met Elizabeth. We got the subs, the platters. We made it back to the school, set those up, got to the gym. I was able to take some pictures of my kids. Both of my older sons were on the drill team, and they were doing this performance where they spin the rifles and everything. And I was able to videotape that on my phone. I was recording it. And so I was able to record that. I snapped a couple pictures. My last picture was at 11 o'clock a.m. And then what I remember is I just felt this really weird thump in my chest. And it was weird, and it was really like a strong thump in my chest. And immediately I knew that if it happened again, I was going to cause a scene. So I grabbed my chest. I looked at my friend Shaletta on the side, and I said, something's not right. And I looked at Elizabeth and I said, follow me outside. So I got up and I walked out immediately. By the time I got out of the gym, I was I was holding on to something. I don't know what. But my friend Elizabeth came up behind me and she's like, hey, what's going on? And my legs were starting to go out from under me. So she grabbed onto me and lowered me to the ground. By that time, I couldn't see anything, but I remember her sitting behind me, and we're sitting on the floor, and she had both her hands on both of my wrists, and she was checking my blood pressure, my pulse with both of her hands on both arms. And I was telling her, I don't want the kids to see me. I don't want them to get scared. Um, I remember saying that. I remember I couldn't see anything. And then I remember her whispering to someone, call 911. Now, the next thing I remember, I was in the hospital and the surgeon was like pinching my toe. And he was like, Joyce, Joyce, like trying to get my attention. And he said, do you remember why you're here? And I said, I responded, because I don't really remember. I responded, someone said something about an aneurysm. And then the next thing I remember was another flash, was my husband standing next to the bedside. And he was saying, for me to be brave and for me to come back. And it was like a movie. It was, and I remember I was getting choked up. And I looked past him and I saw my son.
Here, I'm gonna take you off
Excuse
screen
me,
for
I'm
a
sorry.
second. Yeah, we're not. It's okay.
Oh,
Just breathe. Just breathe.
so,
All right, let me bring you back in. Okay,
okay.
here you
Mhm.
go.
And I saw my son, and I couldn't read his face. And you know your son, you know your kids, and I just couldn't make out what was wrong. And I said, take care of my boy. And then that was it. And I woke up after surgery, and I remember my husband, um, at one point I was telling him it hurts, it hurts. And he was like, oh, what do you need? Like, above me. And I'm like, why can't he understand me? Later on, I found out that I had a tube down my throat. So I actually wasn't talking to him. Um, Another time that I came to, I said, what happened? And he said, you just had open heart surgery. And I was like, what? I was like, this is crazy. I was like, no way. I was just shocked. And then, uh, just the recovery after that and being in the hospital, getting transferred to the cardiac unit. Um, so I do have a timeline of things that did happen. Uh, so at 11 o'clock was when I took the last picture. So at 11:45, Elizabeth had texted someone and she said that the paramedics were checking me out. And I'm again, I don't remember the paramedics, from what she said, they thought that I was having an anxiety attack, and they just wanted to give me water and keep me there. Now, a week before that, I had gone for a walk with a friend, and my 40th birthday was coming up in about a month. And I was saying, um, I want to get in shape. I want to, do this. I have, this and that, and I'm turning 40, and I just want to feel good, and all of that. So, and I told her, and looking back, it had to be God. That's it. And I told her, heart disease in my family, and I don't want that for me. So when Elizabeth was there with the paramedics and they were saying that I was only having an anxiety attack, she didn't know what to do. She knew that friend. She knew that we were friends. We were all friends. She called her and said, I don't know what to do. The paramedics don't want to take her to the hospital, but something's wrong. She said that I kept repeating myself. So she knew me well enough that I was repeating myself, and she knew that something was wrong. But she didn't know what to do because the paramedics were saying this. Now, my friend Missy, the one that she called, said, no, take her to the hospital. Heart disease runs in her family. So she was able to advocate for me because I wasn't able to. I thought that I had lost consciousness because I don't remember hearing and I don't remember seeing anything, but I was up and I was conscious. I didn't lose consciousness, and I was repeating myself. I was worried about my purse. I was worried about the kids seeing me, and I was talking about the sandwiches and something else. I can't really remember what, but obviously I can't remember. But so my husband was in West Palm Beach and he was flying home. He was able to call me and tell me, hey, I got an earlier flight. Again, this is a God thing. He was able to get an earlier flight and he was coming home. And I was like, oh man, I'm not going to get back to the home to clean it, in time for him to get home. But I was like, good thing he's coming home, whatever it is, what it is. So we did talk when I was at the school. Now, by the time he landed, I was already in the hospital. He called. I wasn't picking up. Elizabeth picked up, said, Joyce is in the hospital. You need to get here right away. That was at 1:59. At 2:15, she messaged him that I was back getting a CT scan. Now, from the doctor's notes, with symptoms and everything, they said that my mood, well,
It looks like she's got some network troubles. So let's just, again, bear with me here for a second and see if she comes back to us. There we go. She's back. Let's let that resolution come back in.
are we still there?
Yeah, you're still here. All right.
Okay. What was
And
the last thing?
I'm about to bring you back in. The last thing you said was you were reporting in for your CT scan at 2:15.
Okay.
All right, and here you are.
Hey guys, sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with my internet now. I keep getting booted off. But I was 2:15, I went back to the CT scan. So this is from 11 o'clock where I felt the thump. I don't know what time the paramedics got there. I don't know what time I got to the hospital, but at 2:15, which was 12, 1, 2, about what, 11, 12, 1, 2. So that's 3 hours. About 3 hours later, I'm getting a CT scan. From the doctor's notes, they said that my mental status was alert, oriented to person, place, and time. My mood was anxious, tearful, crying, normal behavior, altered mental state. impaired memory, repetitive question, confused, unable to provide much history. My breathing was normal. I wasn't labored. Um, one of the doctor's notes, okay, it said that it was hard to get an answer from me, hard to get an answer from a patient. She keeps repeating, I don't know. I'm confused. What happened? So that's it. So the reason why they gave me the CT scan was because of my altered state and the complaint of chest pain. I don't personally remember anything. I don't remember the pain. Um, like I said, all I remember is flashes of the doctor touching my toe and my husband at the side of the bed. Um, the note said I had a dissecting aneurysm of the thoracic aorta. What else? I want to get all of my symptoms. CT by 2:20, so at 2:15, she had messaged my husband saying that I was back getting a CT scan. By 2:20, the CT tech notified the doctors of the dissection. 2:21, vascular consult. And my friend was at my bedside and my husband was on the way. CT surgery consulted. Okay, my vitals. Now my vitals were, my blood pressure was in the 90s over 40s, so it's really low, and my heart rate was in the 40s and 50s. So that's extremely low. But so yeah, my symptoms presented as a thump in the chest. The doctor's note said that I complained of pain in the chest, so I don't know if that was me telling them about what was going on in the chest. I don't know. My altered mental state. And all I can say is thank God that I had a friend there that knew me well enough to say something's not right, instead of just saying, oh, she's having an anxiety attack. Because I think about it afterwards, like if it happened at a store or something, or somebody didn't know me, it could have been a very different story. And so thank God for that. That's all I can say. So surgery, I can't really tell how long it was. Somewhere between 5 hours and 7 hours, because my husband was told after 5 hours that I was out of surgery and stable, but he wasn't able to see me for 7 hours. So I don't know if that was just the doctor and you know how they have to do stitches or something afterwards. I really don't know. Um, so after surgery, I was in the hospital for 8 days. Um, I was in the ICU and then went up to cardiac unit. And I had a friend, Miss Tiffany. She was wonderful. She was great. Um, she came in on her, she was actually a nurse for that ward in that floor. And she would come in on her days off, bathe me, braid my hair, um, just spend time with me. She was wonderful. And even afterwards, she brought food to the house that I could eat because it was like low sodium. Uh, I couldn't eat what everybody else was eating, but I had to keep up with my protein and everything. Cardiac rehab. I did cardiac rehab. Heart monitor. So after, okay, so 8 days after I got out of the hospital, no, 5 days after I was discharged from the hospital, I had my first cardiology appointment. And I walked in with a walker because when I left the hospital, they told me that I needed to get a walker and I couldn't walk without it. And they also told me I needed, a chair for the shower, which was fine. My husband ordered it before I even got home. Um, so when I had the appointment, I walked in with my walker. And I remember sitting in, there's all pretty much older people there. And I was 39 when this happened. And I was just remember thinking like, oh my gosh, I look so pitiful here. I'm 39 years old and all of these older people are looking great. They're not even walking with a walker, and here I am, like, you know. So I was just feeling really sorry for myself. But I walked in, and I love my cardiologist. She's amazing. We were there and got to know her. Um, she told me, well, we talked about everything that was going on, what happened, and she said, "Why do you have the walker?" And I said, "I don't know. The hospital said I needed it. Like, I can't walk without it." And she was like, "No, you need to get rid of it. It's only going to do more harm than good." So that was good, but this was all new to me. So from my life before and now afterwards, I was taking a bunch of medicines for my heartbeat, my heart, what is it? My heart pulse or whatever, I don't know, the heart rate, and my blood pressure. Now that I have an issue with the veins, I have to take atorvastatin. So it just, life changed dramatically from before and after. I can say that. Um, what else did I want to talk about? Uh, my first cardiologist appointment. Okay, so I did tell her at that appointment, I told her I'm having these really scary heartbeats. And she said, okay, we're going to get a heart monitor put on you. I went to another office. They put a heart monitor, which stuck on my chest, and I wore that for 10 days, 10 days to 2 weeks. I can't remember. But it was, so when I came home from the hospital, so on top of recovering from open heart surgery, this is my first major surgery. I've never broke a bone before, anything like that. So this is just a whole new experience for me. Um, I was having these erratic heartbeats, and I would sweat profusely, like when and it would just happen like early in the morning. All of a sudden, my heart rate would jump up and spike, and I would be sweating so bad that I would have to get up, shower, change, and then it would happen again like in the evening. But in the evenings when I was going to bed, um, it was just really scary. The heartbeats and the heart racing and everything. It was just erratic heartbeats. And uh, well, this is where the PTSD starts to come in and the anxiety. And I would be afraid to fall asleep because I'd say, my husband is here sleeping already. Um, I think I need to wake him up if something's bad's going to happen. If not, I'm going to fall asleep, or he's going to fall asleep. I'm going to die, and he's not going to know until he wakes up. So here I am with the heart monitor on, and I would just lay hands on myself and just name all the names I know um, for Jesus or God, Prince of Peace, King of all kings. And the beats started going away, started going normal. Like they would immediately calm down. That happened for like 3 nights, that I would just lay hands on myself, and my heart rate would come back to normal. And it went away. It went away. And I have proof of it because of the heart monitor. All of the details were there. Like it was happening and then it stopped. It was happening and then it stopped. And then the rest of the week afterwards, I didn't get it anymore. And that it was just amazing. But I can see that now, thinking back. But I did go through about a year. I didn't know about aortic hope. I didn't know there was a support system out there, and I wish I found it sooner, because I went through a whole year um, kind of dealing with it by myself with my husband. Um, I I did go to my regular primary doctor, and that was, I don't know, that was soon after my operation too. and I just started crying. Like I couldn't talk. I'm a crier, I guess. So I just cried. And he said, you know what, hold on 1 second. He walked out and he came back in with a therapist. Apparently there was a therapist in the office, and he was like, hey, you guys need to talk. So she sat in the office with me for a little while. We talked. My husband was there, and she was like, I'd like to invite you back. And I was like, okay. So we set up an appointment, and I went to see her every once in a while. I can't remember if it was like every other week, and then it stretched out to like maybe every 3 weeks, 4 weeks, like that. There was a schedule that we were following. So it was like gradually it would get further in between. So the therapy helped a lot. Um, it really did help a lot. So and she understood because she also had a medical diagnosis, which she didn't share with me, but she did tell me that she had a medical diagnosis, so she could relate to me. So it wasn't the same exact, but she had a medical diagnosis where she could relate to the feelings and everything that I was going through. So after about a year, she said that she was moving on. I guess she was found another job or something, and that we had to, terminate our what do you call our appointments, and she could refer me to somebody else. I was kind of like, I don't want anybody else because I don't want to have to tell my story all over again and get to know somebody all over again. So I didn't go through with therapy after about a year. Uh, then I found Aortic Hope. I was able to get in touch with people online that have dealing with the same thing. And I remember I would read things and be like, oh my gosh, I'm going through the same exact thing, and I invited my mom, I invited my husband onto a couple of the caregiver sites so they can understand more about what I was going through. Um, the PTSD was really hard. Um, I but I can tell you, after 2 years of going through this, I found a church. I started going to church again consistently, and I have to say that for me has been better than therapy or anything else I was doing on my own. And getting involved with, the community, knowing that other people are going through things the same as me. Um, I It's definitely a journey. It's a journey. I mean, still, I still have appointments. I mean, I was just in the emergency room, went to the emergency room with chest pains not too long ago, about 2 months ago, I think, or 1 month. I was there for about a week doing all the tests and everything. And because of my history, they take me in right away and they do all the tests. So what I had was an aortic dissection. And what was repaired was the ascending aorta. So the aorta is like a candy cane. And then other branches of arteries and veins and everything come from that. But the ascending aorta um, ruptured, and they repaired the ascending aorta. However, I still have a dissection that goes around the arch and down to my iliac, which is in or around my hip area. So I still have a descending aortic dissection around the arch. I have it going up both sides of my carotid arteries. And that is one of them end at my skull or the base of my skull. The other one goes right past it or something like that. I can't remember the exact artery or vein that it goes to. And then one dissection that goes off to my right arm. So since then, it's been 3 years. Since then, I have developed an aneurysm in my lower chest from the CT scans that I get. I'm monitored about every 3 to 4 months. Um, I get CT scans, and for 3 years, I counted them today. I had 10 CT scans, and that works out to every 3 to 4 months. So, I am being monitored. I have a great cardiologist. She brought on another cardiologist. She said, "Hey, I have this cardiologist I want you to see." She specializes in aortic disease and Wellstar. That's the hospital system over here. Wellstar is starting like a center of excellence for people with aortic disease. And she says it hasn't opened yet, but I know this cardiologist and she's involved in it, and I want you to go see her. So I have two cardiologists now, and I just love it. I love my cardiologist, and the fact that she said, "Hey, I want to bring another one on board with us," I just have even more respect for her. And I have that center has opened up, and they nicknamed it CAP, which is Comprehensive Aortic Program. It's for with Wellstar, and it's for people with aortic disease. Now, I have my first appointment in March or April there, so I'm really excited to go there and see, you know, everyone all at once. That's my vascular surgeon, my vascular doctors, both of my cardiologists. I think I'll be seeing. Um, and everything else that I need. So I'm really excited. I'm very fortunate that I live close by. It's in Marietta, so it's maybe like a 30-minute drive for me. And I'm really excited about that. I think I'm very, very fortunate to live close to something like that. Um, what else? So, Josh, am I missing something?
Do you have any advice for the newly dissected or newly diagnosed?
Oh, yes, I do want to. Okay, so my symptoms for me. Now, this is from being on the Aortic website, the Aortic Hope Facebook page, and all that. There was a young lady that posted that she had lost her dad from an aortic dissection. And she said the only symptom he had was like a closing of the throat. And I want to mention that because I said I had that, but I went to a clinic 2 weeks before I dissected, before my event happened, and they just said it was allergies, and they gave me some allergy medicine. He did tell me, he said, "You do have high blood pressure, and I'm going to give you something for high blood pressure." And that's the first time I've ever heard anyone tell me that I have high blood pressure. And I was like, I was kind of offended. I was like, how dare he? He just wants to like shove medicine down my throat, you know? And I said, no, thank you. I'll get a second opinion. And I took the allergy medicine and I left. Um, Little did I know. I mean, I don't know. If I took the medicine, maybe it would have been prolonged. Things wouldn't have worked out the way they did work out. I'm just very thankful that I was with who I was with, where I was at, and I couldn't have asked for any more. That's all I could say about that. But I do want to say, um, maybe about 9 months, yeah, 6 to 9 months. I would say 6 to 9 months. I kept getting this feeling that my breathing or something was tightening, like something was tightening, something was happening in my throat. And I was like, maybe I'm allergic to something. Um, I don't know, maybe something's in bloom. Like I kept telling myself self things like that. I would drink a hot cup of tea, um, just rest. But it was bothersome enough that I would say to my husband, it's happening again. That feeling, it's happening again. It's happening again. And that's it. That's all I remember. She said that that was his only symptom, and I told her that I'm going to continue saying that that was a symptom for me. When you look up aortic dissection, I haven't seen any symptom like that, but they did say something about an aneurysm pushing up against your esophagus or something like that. So maybe that's what I was feeling. So that was a couple months before that. Um, so high blood pressure. If uh, warning signs, I guess, to look out for. Palpitations, high blood pressure, and I guess the closing of the throat. I mean, I did have some palpitations before this, but it would be like late at night when I was laying down or something, and I'm like, did I just feel what I felt? I don't know. I kind of like brush it off, didn't pay too much attention to it. Now, if somebody tells me they have palpitations, I'm like, go get checked out. Go get checked out. Get an echocardiogram, an ultrasound at the very least, get it checked out. Now, for somebody that just got a dissection, maybe they just got diagnosed or they just had surgery, um, do your research. I mean, the more you know, the better. I will tell you that I would look up things online and I would get scared and I would be crying and everything and telling my husband, oh no, I'm not gonna live, I'm gonna die and all this stuff. But uh the more you know, the better. And that way, when the doctors are talking to you, you can have educated questions. I would read through my CT scans and I wouldn't understand, and I would read it and be Googling what this means, what that means, so I can piece it together. So when the doctor calls me for my results, I know, okay, but what is this? What is that? And I did find out, okay, I do have an aneurysm in my lower chest, and I do have two pseudo aneurysms in my neck. Now, a pseudo aneurysm, an aneurysm is just like the artery is engorged, I guess. It stretches a little bit bigger, and that causes a problem because the lining becomes thinner, um, and it could rupture. And the pseudo aneurysms is where the aneurysm has broke through one or more of the layers of your artery, because your aorta has three layers, and the pseudoaneurysm, it broke through, I think, one or more um, layers, and it's actively bleeding or bleeding into the layers. So those are small, and of course I'm getting ultrasound on them quite frequently, carotid artery ultrasounds and my CT scans. So I am getting, I got a really good team of doctors, and I am being monitored, and that helps me sleep at night. That helps my anxiety um, tremendously, knowing that I'm getting checked out. Um, but definitely get involved with the aortic community. Look up aortic hope. I mean, obviously, you're probably already here if you're watching this. Think aorta and watch these videos. My thing was going through the Facebook page and seeing everybody's aorta and aortaversaries. So it's an aortic dissection anniversary, and just seeing these people that are celebrating their 20th or their 30th, and it gives me hope. It really does. So that's the advice that I have. Get involved and start educating yourself on what's going on with your body. Don't rely on just what the doctors are saying. Read, read, read. Because even with my CT scans, when they tell me what's happening, they don't always tell you everything. And I had to say, okay, what is a pseudoaneurysm? Because nobody told me that I had it. But that was me reading it. And when the doctor told me, okay, everything hasn't changed, everything's the same. And I said, well, okay, well, what's a pseudoaneurysm? Because the CT scan says that. So just read your stuff, educate yourself, get involved with the aortic community, and know that you're not alone. That would be my best advice for anybody that's new to this.
Right on.
Okay, Josh.
Right on. Thank you for
What else do we
sharing your
have?
story. I have a couple questions.
Okay.
One of the things that we cover in the support groups is side effects to medications. Did you have any
Oh,
medication changes that you want to go over?
a lot. So again, like I said, it's been 3 years now, and my medicine has changed a lot. So I went from no medicine at all to taking a bunch of medicine, and uh, mainly I think it's the metropolol, the blood pressure medicine. Sometimes it would bring my blood pressure too low, and I would be extremely tired, very fatigued. I would be sleeping on the couch, sleeping in my room, like I was fighting to stay awake. So when I would talk to my cardiologist, they say, "Hey, this isn't working out. This is what's going on." She'd switch it up again. Um, I would have to monitor my blood pressure. I have a little app on my phone where I log my blood pressure, my heart rate, all of that. So I keep track of that. Um, I lost track of how many times we switched up the medicine. And there was some I gained weight since my surgery. I've gained 50 pounds, and that was due to the medicine that I was being prescribed. I talked to my doctor, and she was like, "Okay, well, we're gonna mess with the meds again because that is a side effect of the metropolol, actually." So she was able to lower that and raise something else and give me another thing. And then I was swelling um, really, really bad. My ankles would swell and like all the way up to my knees, really bad. And then sometimes it would take days for it to come down. And that ended up being a medicine. Okay, so the cardiologist prescribed me that. But when I went to vascular, I told him, "Hey, I'm having these episodes where I'm swelling, this and that." And he said, "Well, what medicines are you on?" I told him, and he said, "Bingo, that's the one. That's the culprit. 99.9% of the time, that's the one." And I said, "Okay, well, I'm seeing my cardiologist in a week and I'll talk to her about it." I told her about it. She changed it again. And that was in April of this year. So it's been a couple of months, and since April, so May, June, July, August, September, October, November. It's been 7 months right now, and we're going good with the prescriptions and everything that I have right now. And I forgot to mention, I did have genetic testing done because there are some soft tissue disorders or diseases that that can be found on genetic testing, which could predispose me to aortic dissections. Um, all of that came back negative. So in my case, they don't know why it happened to me, and they don't know why my veins are tearing. So it's just kind of like a and wait, sit and wait. And my last vascular appointment was about 2 weeks ago, and 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he said, I have a bad, what was it that he said? I have a bad situation. I'm in a bad situation, but I'm in good shape for the shape that I'm in. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. Everything's good until it's not good. So it's kind of like you just got to roll with it. And uh, yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Um, so you said you're 3 years out now?
3 years out, 3 years and 1 month.
Okay. Um, you were,
Now they did say that I will be looking at more surgeries, uh, but like I said, that's monitor and wait.
yeah, yeah. For some people in the community, it goes that way.
Yeah.
Um, so you mentioned that you had therapy and you were having some sleep troubles. How long precisely do you think that
Oh,
lasted, or does this come and go?
that was mm, over a year, maybe even 2 years that I dealt with that. Um, it's just my mind would start racing, and what if this, what if that. Again, my husband had to go back to work, so he travels, and I would be alone in the bed, and I'm thinking, I don't want my kids to find me if I die. And you know, you hear about an aorta, I guess, every once in a while. Like who really thinks about it until something like this happens? And I was trying to find a timeline so I can give you guys like this organized timeline and go through it. And I had text my friend, the one that told somebody to call 911, Elizabeth. I text her and I said, so this is what happened. And I told her, because I guess I didn't really remember that she was there with me. And I said aorta, but I spelled it really weird. I was like, what? I must have been on drugs or something when I text her. And then I said later on, I was like, I don't know how to spell it. And she corrected me because she's in the medical field. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, okay. When I'm reading it today, I'm like, how silly was I? Like I didn't even know what was going on, you know? And they said this is really rare. They said it usually happens to men in their 60s. And here I was, a 39-year-old woman. And they said, oh, it's really rare. But the more you start getting uh, reading on people's stories, watching these videos, and getting involved in the community, you really realize that it's rare, but it's pretty common, if that makes any sense. And while I was substituting, just recently, I made friends with someone, you know, one of the teachers, and she was friends with me on Facebook. She had posted that this happened to her husband. So I said, hey, that's the same thing that happened to me, you know? So I sent her a message, whatever, gave her some, uh, you know, tell him to look up Aortic Hope. There's Facebook, you know, there's Facebook pages and everything so he can see other survivors and things like that. You know, I shared a little bit and she thanked me for that. But yeah, that's I can't believe how common it is. And what was it, a month later when I talked to a month after my surgery, I had a video conference or a video appointment with the surgeon that saved my life. And I was telling him, thank you so much. You know, you mean so much to me, and how important it was what he did and what he does. And he was kind of like, it's all in the day's work. And I'm like, I am so serious. Like this is a life-changing event for me, and you saved my life. And I don't know. That's what I was gonna say. He said, you guys need to start a support group because you were the one in like five that I did in the same month. And I was like, wow, I thought this was rare. But you know, it like I said, it's more common than we think. That's what I think. And I also want to share Lucille Ball. I love Lucy died from this. Albert Einstein died from this, like aortic disease. Like there's oh, John Ritter, right? Is that his name, John Ritter? There's people out there, and it's more common than you think. It's just that you don't know until you know. It's like the red car. I want to buy a red Acura, and then you start seeing a red Acura everywhere, you know? But that's what all I can say is just educate yourself, start looking up Facebook groups, and get involved.
Yeah, I agree. Um, so it takes about a year and a half for the open heart surgery to really come to physical healing, right? Like the sternum and everything.
Yes.
Into your second year, this is again, so this would be a year out. This would be probably halfway through the bad sleeping episodes. Probably two or three iterations of medication changes, right? Right in that first
Yeah.
year. How
Hmm.
often did you go to the emergency room in that first year?
Oh, even to this year too. I've had two emergency room visits this year. And it seems to be like one or two per year.
Okay, that's another common thing in the support groups. It's very interesting that people
Yes.
become shy after having something like this happen about going to the emergency room. And Karen is very
Well,
vocal about
yeah.
saying it's better to know if you're feeling worried or anxious, just get in there and get checked out,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, one of my first things, I can't remember what it was. I was having, oh, when I was inhaling, I was getting a sharp pain in my chest. And I told my husband, I said, well, I'm not getting any other symptoms. And he was out of town. He's like, go to the ER, go to the ER, go to the ER. And I was like, I don't really want to go to the ER. Can I just go to like urgent care? And, so I went to urgent care, and it was this old guy. And I just want to say, like, he was a doctor, and he came in like a grandpa. And he was like, that he had a stent done, he had some work done or whatever. And he was like, listen, honey, you just got to face it. This is your life now. You need to go to the ER. He's like, what you're telling me, I don't feel comfortable with it. He was like, and you just got to face it. And he was, he touched my arm, touched my shoulder, and he would rub my back. And he was like, you know, he was just like a grandpa, and he was like, you just got to deal with it. Like, this is what it is. It's my story too, because if something happens to me, I have to go to the ER. He's like, this is how it is now. You just have to go to the ER. So I left there, and he was like, do you want me to call the ER? I'm going to tell them, ahead of time. I was like, okay. So he kind of gave them heads up that I was on my way. And that is a good thing. I mean, every time I go to the ER now, they take me back right away. With my history, it's just up, come on in, and you're staying. It's an automatic overnight sleepover. So I always bring a bag. But yes, definitely going to the ER and just getting checked out, even if it's nothing. It helps you sleep at night. It makes you like, okay, I got checked out. Everything's okay, you know. So yes, that's very good advice.
All right, let's take a look at here chat. Right away, we want to say hi to some people that have been here since the beginning for your story. We've got Tom and Ken and Molly and Brenny. They're the vocal ones. A bunch of
Hi
people are
guys,
just
thank
being
you.
shy. um, let's see here. Molly says, your tears break my heart because I know exactly how you're feeling. Molly's got a big
No.
heart, yeah. Ken here, he's got something to share. He says, my dissection was/is the same, ascending repair, but I still have descending dissection with intrusion into other areas. My first
Mhm.
yearly review is coming up soon. Okay, so again, you're 3 years out. He's in his first year. You know.
Good luck with that. Read when you get your CT scan and all that. Oh, and that's another thing. When I knew a doctor's appointment was coming up, a CT scan, my anxiety went through the roof. After my surgery, I didn't like leaving the house by myself. I don't like going to the store. Even sometimes now, I don't like going to the store by myself. If I have errands to run, I don't necessarily like to go by myself. There's been a couple times where I was in the store and I would get dizzy, and this is again with them switching up my medicine and everything. um, I would get dizzy and confused, and I would just have to like stop and lean on the cart. And thank goodness when those happened, someone was with me that they could take over, and I'd say, let's just check out and let's get home. And when I get home, I check my blood pressure, and my blood pressure was bottoming out. So I would just rest, eat something, you know, check off the list. I took my medicine, or if my blood pressure's low, I'm gonna skip it. Um, Eat something, drink something, rest, put my feet up until I feel better. But when a CT scan was coming or any major checkup like that, I my anxiety would go through the roof. I wouldn't be sleeping. I was crying, and I would just my mind would get ahead of myself, with all the negative things that could be happening. It was really scary. But I would say pray about it. Read If you get a CT scan or ultrasound, whatever it is, read and get yourself familiar with the language. So when you do have that consult with the doctor, you can say, "Hey, what does this mean? What does that mean?" So you get a better idea of yourself. You really have to advocate for yourself and learn how to do that. Definitely. So good luck with that. Good luck with that. I'm going to be praying that everything goes well for you.
Yeah, I agree. Self advocacy is king here. We tell
Mhm.
everybody. Molly says, like you, when I ran into my surgeon, aka my superhero rock star stud, and thanked him for being there and saving my life, he was very humble and acted as if it was just a little lunch break.
Yeah, yeah. There's this anime that my kids would watch, and it was One Punch Man, and he would defeat the men. Do you know who it is?
I do. I'm
Okay,
familiar. Yeah.
so okay, so he'd be like, "Man," like, like I was like, "Man," like it's nothing. I'm like, "It's so major." But yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Ken says, good advice there, Joyce. Thank you. Jip Ra has joined to say, thanks for sharing. Love hearing it. God bless you.
God bless you too. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And so things at home, right? It's weird and it's isolating. I get this from the support group quite a bit. The
Mhm,
fact that you found people to talk to, even a year out. I guess Karen got this whole thing started in 2016. So
mhm.
for her, that's almost 9 years out. That was a year out after her surgery. I guess she's coming up on her 10-year anniversary, and she couldn't find anything. It was like there was nothing, right? So obviously she
Mm.
jumps in, and there's a bunch of awareness being raised, and she gets partnered in with the Think Aorta group out of the UK, and we're seeing the awareness rise, right? And what I find the most interesting thing about the social media aspect of what Aortic Hope offers is how often people in our community end up finding other survivors, right? And it's very
Yes.
much like your red
Mhm,
Acura at, like, oh, now I see it, and it's like, that's right. Hey, that's me. Let me go say hi to this guy
mhm.
over here, or what have you. And
Yeah, absolutely.
when we launched Aortic Hope Canada, we had two survivors that were both from Canada. One's from the East Coast, or I guess an hour ahead of the East Coast, and the other one's somewhere in the middle of Canada. And these two ladies bravely took on the role of kind of, hey, we're here in Canada. Let's talk about it. Let's make sure that we can talk to each other and whatnot. Well, the one lady ends up on a radio show getting interviewed. She gets a
Oh, wow.
newspaper article mentioned, and somebody in her hometown is like, hey, I heard about you. And bam,
Hmm.
connections are being made. And so that I think is amazing.
Yeah, they say
Um,
it's rare, but it's so common.
you
It's
keep
really
running into
common.
people.
And there was the what is it? The World Cup championship, the soccer thing,
Yeah,
that was just happening not too long ago. The news, the journalist that was covering it,
yep,
that collapsed during it, it was, aortic dissection or something, aortic an
aortic
aneurysm or
related,
something
yeah.
like that, and I was like, "Oh my goodness." My mom is the one that told me. She was like, "Hey, did you hear about this guy that collapsed?" And I was like, "No."
Yeah, I think his
So
last name was Grant.
mhm,
Yeah. Let me see here. So the isolation thing, right? Like we love to hear about that, and the fact that you're going to be connected to Center of Excellence with an aortic disease focus. That's even kind of more amazing. The idea that that's
yes,
something
I'm
coming
really
up.
excited about that.
Yeah.
I'm
Uh,
sorry?
that is now something that's happening, right? A
Yeah.
comprehensive aortic disease area concentration. Um, One thing that we hear for those of you that are kind of listening, Dr. Udeman is somebody who's very connected with the Think Aorta campaign. He's also, kind of our go-to, and Aortic Hope, one of our go-tos. We have several. He's on record as saying this is the first generation of survivors that we can really kind of follow. And so for a
Wow.
lot of people, the idea here is how rare is it? Right. Karen loves to say, she's like,
Yeah.
aortic dissections are rare, but I like the more we know about it, the more we think aortic disease is just far more
Mhm.
common than anybody's willing to admit.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I believe you. And also, I do want to mention, my dad died suddenly, very suddenly at the age of 57. And upon his wishes, I guess he had expressed to my mom that if he passed away, he never wants to get an autopsy. So she, respecting his wishes, she didn't do it. And I think on the death certificate, they put, what is it? I don't know, a major cardiac event or something like that. And I just have to think like that was 11 years ago now. And I think, what if he died of an aortic dissection or something, you know? So, but they did tell me, just because it's not what I have isn't genetic so far, because they said, what is it, the genetic testing, I'll have to continue to do that every so many years because, the science and the technology continues to change. So, I'll have to redo my genetic testing. But they said, they didn't find anything genetically or any of the soft tissue disorders, they didn't, hit the marker or whatever on my gene test. But he said just because it's not genetic doesn't mean it doesn't run in the family. So I did have several uncles and an aunt that in their 50s they had open heart surgery. And it was more for like, I think, clogged arteries, you know, bypass surgery, things like that. Um, so not necessarily aneurysms or dissections, but there is heart disease that runs in my family.
Yeah, and that becomes troubling as well. Yeah,
Mhm.
right.
So right
Because
now I am taking a torvastatin, and I think that, so what they told me it does is because of the issues and the tearing of my arteries, um, this medicine, it makes it slippery, so nothing builds up on inside the arteries. So it kind of makes it slippery, so nothing will stick and nothing will build up, because if there's a buildup, it could cause more of a tear.
yeah,
So I'm on like a preventative, um, you know, medication for that.
yeah, and that's another thing about aortic disease. It's so wildly, vastly different between everybody.
Yes.
Your story of a thoracic ascending, right? Somebody else
Hmm.
may, we have people that have only ever seen it in the descending, right around the belly area. Again, no rhyme or reason, no symptoms, just all of a sudden
Yeah.
life-threatening emergency surgery.
Yep.
Yeah,
Very much like day and night. Just one day I was fine, and I woke up and I had it. Like I had open heart surgery.
yeah.
And
How
I
are
would
you?
just want to say, I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh, I was gonna say, how are you doing with exercise now? Are you walking on a regular
Exercise,
basis?
I was, and then I fell off a bit, and then I am again. So I was walking the dog a lot, and then it got too hot, and then I was like, I was driving to a local park, and I was walking the dog, and it helps me and it helps her. So that was helping out a lot. And then it would get too hot, and I'd be like, oh, I don't want to go out there, in the heat. And then I'm just learning about the cold, what the cold does. So our veins restrict in the cold weather.
Mm-hmm.
So it is starting to get cold here in Georgia. Not, I mean, today it got up to what, 50 or something like that. I can't remember, but um, it wasn't so cold. But now it has me thinking again, like how cautious do I have to be in the cold? You know.
Yeah, another wrinkle. I hear you. Molly
Hmm.
here's got some
But
stuff.
yeah, I go to the gym. If I go to the gym, I walk. But yeah, I do a lot of walking.
Yeah, that's good. That's all we ever ask. Make sure you get some of that walking in. It's good for the mental health. It's good for cardiovascular. Again, you still
Hmm.
have to take care of your heart. So
Yes.
Molly here says, you being a wife and mother of five is extraordinary that you have experienced such an awful event, and yet here you are. Beautiful,
Hmm.
positive, smiley, despite expected tears, and sharing your incredible story. I look forward to volunteering with you at this awesome organization. Thanks,
Oh,
Molly.
me too. I'm excited. And I will tell you the dynamic in my house, the kids help out a lot. I do get fatigued a lot. I can't do everything that I used to do. Clean the whole house while the kids are in school, and then my husband come home to a clean house. And now the kids are doing the majority of the work, so I'm kind of just touching up. And I've let go a lot, and I'm not a perfectionist about it anymore. I kind of just got to be, roll with the punches and kind of be like, okay, it is what it is. Who cares if the floors are dirty tonight? Let's go to bed. But I've let go a lot. The kids do. I can't express how much they help out. They help out so much, and I think because we went through this as a family, they're. Uh, I want to say they're more thankful for me. Um, they're so much kinder. They're nicer. Um, And when this happened, like I said, they were middle schoolers and high schoolers when everybody expects them to misbehave. And my kids are awesome. My kids are great. And I think it really had to do with us going through this as a family.
That's beautiful to hear. That really is. Everybody's saying thank you, Molly. All right. Well, let me let you get back to your family. It was
All
wonderful
right.
to meet you, Joyce. Thank you so much for
You
helping
too.
us share
Thank
your
you.
story.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do with the volunteering aspect as well.
Yes, me too. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So you want to do something fun? This is a little something that only people on YouTube do.
Okay.
I want you to thank these nice
Like and
people for being
subscribe.
here. Exactly. All right. Say goodnight.
Is that what you said?
Yep. Yep.
Exactly? Yes. It helps the algorithm, and we get out and our tentacles reach more people. Like and subscribe.
All right. Now say goodnight, everyone.
All right, good night. Thanks again for letting me do this, and thanks for listening, guys.